Yeah.
Oh no!
Matt, what the hell was that?
Wasn't me, coach. Welcome to the Straight Red Card. Get off our lawn.
Welcome to the Straight Red Card.
Yeah.
7 minutes, people.
7 minutes. You know what? We went and switched monetization over, and it's like, oh, it's limited. I can't believe I did that. And the next time I checked later on, it went back on. So maybe that 7 minutes is a thing. Who knows?
Maybe that's just rumor mill stuff. But they have made it very clear that we need to stop swearing so much. But that's okay. We're not going to. We're just not going to do it in the first 7 minutes. And we'll live without it. Oh, by the way, I just want to let everybody know I'm going to get through this show after projectile vomiting this morning. That was fun. And
pea soup everywhere, 360
from both ends. Some serious, I don't know. I'm guessing food poisoning or something went wrong. My whole system said, "Nah, dude, you're done for the day." So yeah, I basically was in bed today until like 2:30. I couldn't get out. I mean, the only time I got out of bed was to do more damage to the porcelain gods.
Yeah, I on the other hand, my kids were over at my parents' house last night, so we Evie and I started rewatching Ted Lasso so we can start the new season. But we like to, every time we start a new season of something, we always like to go back and rewatch all the previous seasons.
Oh, my bad.
Well, yeah, that like, oh, I remember this episode. We got 35 minutes. Let's go.
All right.
So we started watching it and everything. I went to bed, woke up this morning and go, this is the last day of school before spring break.
Oh, yes.
I don't think I really want to go into school today. I felt a little under the weather.
Yeah.
And called in and it's like, you know what? I'm going to take this time to clean the house and get it in order because in-laws coming in town this weekend. So I stayed home, did that. My parents brought my kids home, and then me and my dad deconstructed the last workbench downstairs in the basement. Now that's cleared out, and I can start doing that shit. And then I found out my mother-in-law is not coming into town, so I stayed home and did all this cleaning for nothing.
So you were so busy cleaning, I had to make the horrible whatever. What's it called? The photo that we used for the show.
Yeah, the thumbnail. Yeah,
thumbnail.
I wasn't on the computer at all. I barely touched Twitter today.
Yeah, and we got through the confusion, and I got it done. Because I don't really go in there anymore, so I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I mean, it didn't take that hard. It wasn't that difficult. All right, the turd in the background says, "Welcome to the Straight Red Card. The U.S. men's national team versus L3 in June. I can't wait. Will Balogun play? Will Pulisic get laid? Will my wife give blowjobs for pay? Let's find out. I thought she already did."
Well, maybe she's giving them away for free.
Oh, I guess they were for free. So discount ones. Okay. Like super discount, like free discount. I don't think Pulisic's going to get laid until he gets married because he's very religious. Just something you all should know. He is very, 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 very religious guy. And I don't think that that's going to happen for him. He's waiting to meet the right gal. You're pregnant. No, I'm not. Are you, Brett?
No, you had morning sickness.
Oh, well, I know that there's a lot of discussions about this these days, but I'm pretty sure I'm not capable of giving birth to a child. I can make a baby still. I still have baby batter, but I don't really want to do that. 2 kids is enough, and I think I'll just move on from here. Certainly don't want to give birth. Really don't have a lot of space up there for a baby to come out. I think the only place it could come out would be my asshole, right? And I don't want anybody to start their life up there. All right, not after this morning. Diego isn't even 29. That was the beginning of the lies.
So I'll give you a little background on this because
Okay.
I witnessed this and I was gonna start commenting and I chose not to. It was gonna be sarcastic, but I was like, whatevs.
All right.
Apparently, there is somebody that's all over Diego's balls on the Twitters
Gently,
claiming that the Diego that we saw in Orlando with Wes is not the same Diego that's in 29's profile picture.
What do you mean he's been on our show?
Different.
That's the exact same
not
guy.
The same guy.
The guy that's been on our show is the exact same guy that was in Orlando.
Oh man, he was posting pictures of him side by side. Like, what a picture! He goes, see, not the same guy. And then the posting, the picture that wasn't cropped that showed his tat sleeve. Clearly, same guy.
Yeah, he got a haircut before Orlando too, and I hardly recognized him. He also shaved some of his his facial hair, and so he did look different. But I knew it was Diego, the same guy that's been on the show. So
I'm just gonna scroll back down and see if I can find it real quick. Wait. I think
this wasn't a serious thing, was it?
Oh yeah.
Okay, well then is this the same? Is this the same ass face? Since we're still at 640, who came up with a theory that Paul McCartney died and that the Paul McCartney that's alive today isn't the original Paul McCartney but a lookalike, who is amazingly somehow just as remotely talented as the actual real Paul McCartney, and wrote an album called Band on the Run, which was amazing. Frankly, that's 7 minutes. So yeah. That album, Band on the Run, is the best album Paul McCartney did in his solo work, right? I guess it was with Wings, I guess, technically, but still, obviously a very amazing artist. So, yeah, probably the same guy, probably the same dude. That would be the same guy. And I'm going to tell you, the guy that's here on this show and the guy that was in Orlando is the same dude. Okay? All right.
Oh, no, that wasn't the guy that's on the 29's profile picture, and him next to the Lambo and everything like that. God, I'm trying to see if I can find it, but I think it might have gotten deleted actually.
Look at my Twitter handle picture thingy, right? It is a drawing that somebody did of me when I was 33 years old. All right? Does that still look like me from the side? You tell me. No, I'm fat now.
It's
all right?
Derek.
I mean, sort of. The nose will be somewhat the same, but I grew bigger. My nose is bigger than it was when I was 33 years old.
That's just science.
When you get older, by the way, folks, everything continues to grow bigger. Your ears, your nose, your gut, everything but your dick.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
So, yeah. And that's fine, too, because you pretty much used it already, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're 50. That's like, for me, that's, let's see, lost my virginity at 16. So what is that? That's a long time of using that particular part of my body effectively. All right.
All right, Derek, I need you to avert your eyes.
Oh, we're doing that again?
Yep. Right. Yep. Lock the screen. Everybody, make sure you get your bingo cards. We got Mitch up here. He decided to go ahead and post some brand new ones. Here's card number 1. Take a screen cap if you want it, or go find the card for yourself. Number 2. Derek talks about what? Oh, sorry. Here's Chris Gary's number 3. Timothy Mertensen has 2, apparently. And number 4. Okay, you're good.
All right. How's it though? You know what not to say.
I don't like cheating, Derek. So I let our conversation just go the way they go.
Oh, I'm a cheater. That's what you're saying.
You are. If you pick the bingo card and you start playing, you absolutely would cheat. Yes.
But I'm not going to. Should I turn I'm going to turn the comments on briefly and see how it goes. All right. I haven't been doing it lately. Derek, muster a little bit of enthusiasm for a classic red card novelty act, you prude. What? What are we talking about? What is he talking about?
Who was it?
Anonymity. Okay, we doing that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're like, we're pulling up the bingo cards. You're like, oh, we're doing that again? Yeah, sure, why not?
Hey, it gives me a chance to take a few puffs and take a few sips. So there we go. I did take a peek on one point, but not at the screen. All right.
Good news is, Derek, we've gone 10 and a half minutes and no words of that violate our monetization?
No, we're good. No,
I
I
think
did.
we're good.
I did swear after 7 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm so used to it. I just don't hear it anymore.
You didn't even notice it. Yeah, you're just like, that's how we speak here.
Those are the words that we say.
When in Rome, fucking A. All right. What do you want to start with?
Mm.
Oh,
Derek,
by the
we're
go
gonna
ahead.
go ahead. Sorry,
Go ahead.
no. You said, by the way.
No, I've been watching The Mandalorian, and I just forgot the time that Bill Burr was on The Mandalorian.
It was so good.
He was really good.
It was really good. Yeah.
I don't know if I would call it acting though, because he just seemed like Bill Burr.
It was Bill Burr up until his big monologue where he had the what is it, Operation Cinder or whatever.
Yeah,
and he goes on for like 30 seconds to a minute where he talks about all the stuff that was happening during it. I thought that was fucking great.
No, he's really good. He was really good, and I mean,
but you're right. He is Bill Burr. You know,
it's not like too far off. Bill
It's
Burr.
like Nicolas Cage is Nicolas Cage. And Nicolas Cage does this.
Yes, but I thought it was funny today because I saw, and that's why it reminded me of The Mandalorian.
Oh, wait a second. Wait, BMR saying no spoilers. You're not talking about.
No. I'm done.
Yeah.
But I did hear Bill Burr's show. It was probably 7 days old at this point that I did watch today while I was pooping and puking all over the place about the word meta. Where he's like, what the hell is the word meta? What does that mean? And somebody's explaining, well, you're special when they didn't edit out the part where you dropped the mic and all that shit and you had to screw it back on. And that was meta because you're kind of telling people, hey, this is the real deal. This is a real show. We're getting into like details and we're not leaving it. You're hearing the whole story, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
there's no cut to.
Yeah. So I don't know why we need to use the word meta because as Bill says, it's like, well, that's just like obvious shit, right? So I don't know why we have to make a big word for just showing things the way they are. But if you want to, I guess you can continue to use the word meta. But the word meta has been around for a long time. There's metaphysics, there's meta this and meta that. It's just basically how the sausage is made, right?
I haven't heard of meta this. What is meta this?
Meta, M-E-T-A.
No, you said meta this, meta that. I've never heard of meta
this, meta that. And so it's like if you went to a picnic, right? And the dude was making sausages and hot dogs and shit on the grill and everybody's eating them. And you're like, hey, man, I want to tell you a little bit about how sausage and hot dogs are made. It's all about fucking anuses, pork anuses. And you'd be like, listen, dude, I'm eating this. I really don't want to hear this. And he's like, man, you need to hear the meta. No, I don't want it.
This is why I thought this came up because you're like, oh, Bill Burr's talking about meta. So I'm like, oh, he's talking about the metaverse, really?
Not the metaverse. No, that's different. So
there you go.
Anyhow, it's just the word meta.
Talking about soccer on this channel is meta.
Hey, but when we get into it,
it
is meta. All right, we don't fuck around. We tell you some details.
There's Metamucil.
I'm sure there's a real reason.
Christopher's confused. He was meta sausage.
Well, the way sausage is made is something most people don't want to know. Although they eat sausage, but it isn't pleasant, and you probably wouldn't eat it after you read about it. Frankly,
no,
all right.
I know how it's made, and it doesn't bother me in the slightest. It's so good.
I don't know if it's on anybody's card or not. Sausage worst. If it is, great. I don't think that's something we usually talk about. Maybe in a metaphoric sense. So.
Are you reading the chat? This literally just popped up. Okay.
Yeah, I was reading. Yeah. But he's right. It would or could be on the bingo card, but we don't usually talk about sausage. Like I said, we might talk about sausage.
Yeah, and then you
giggle.
Hey, you.
Yeah, ding.
Hey,
but yeah, not a normal thing. All right, so let's move on to your bevy of things.
Derek, it's your favorite time of the show. Actually, you know what it is?
Oh God, it must be transfer talk.
Transfer news. You need to have a theme song that I can just play on there.
Yeah, more transfer news, says Chris Gary. Clubs in England are reportedly interested in signing Noel Buck. Or does he pronounce it Noel Buck? Is it Noel?
You say potato. I don't know.
I mean,
I'd probably say Noel. Yeah.
God, that's a very effeminate name for a boy. What's your name? Noel. Oh, Okay.
Or could it be said Noel?
Or Noel, or Noel. I don't know. It's very nice. I guess it rolls off the tongue easily. He's happy in New England and isn't in a rush to leave. He nearly joined Tottenham Hotspur. Don't do that for a training stint. Oh, you can do a training stint in the winter,
Yeah.
but that fell through. A training stint fell through. Per Tom, don't bogart my joint, my man.
Derek, you missed the key word there.
What? Interested?
Yeah.
Where is it? Where's the
Clubs in England are reportedly interested.
Interested.
You went straight to the name and said, "Is it Noel?"
I'm sorry, that name threw me for a loop. I'm not used to men being named Noel. Just threw me for a loop. No big deal. And that's fine. But he does have a very strong last name, Buck. You know? Hey, don't fuck with Buck.
Yeah.
Noel, take your ass out.
My name's Buck, and I like to play soccer.
I'm Mr. Buck to you, brother. All right, but I guess if you showed up in the in a Western or out west in the cowboy days, and you showed up, and this I think was on Back to the Future, and they asked him what his name was. He was, "My name's Clint Eastwood," and they're like,
"What kind of silly name is that?"
Kind of fucking silly name is Clint Eastwood. All right. Oh well, things have changed. Yeah. All right. What else we got? Any other transfer?
We got more transfer news.
Oh my God! Edgar Moreno says Bayern Munich have inquired with Arsenal about. Well, you might have to remove that little English flag. Oh no, not from Arsenal though. About Florian or Flo Balogun. The German Giants are one of the many clubs interested in signing the Ligue 1 striker.
So what I like about this rumor, Derek, is it doesn't say interested or they're keeping an eye on or keeping tabs on or anything like that. It's like they've inquired,
which is a lot more than keeping an eye on and interested in. Yeah. They've actually inquired.
They're showing interest.
They sent a little to the offices of Bayern. What's that called? Morse code. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they might have gotten a 4-sentence thing saying from Bayern saying something like, "Flo, we like, come?" ? And so we'll see. You're like waving off children.
No, I'm throwing shit at my dog right now.
Oh,
why? She's up at the door, trying to poke it open.
Oh,
she can go outside the kitchen and bark.
Do you want to let her in, or no?
No, she's in.
She's trying to get out.
She's trying to go out to be a little bit of a bitch.
Okay, it's like, bitch, know your limitations.
Yeah,
you're in here. You're not getting out. You don't have hands. So there you go.
You're stuck in here with me.
Yes, John Rex says carrier pigeon.
Yeah,
something like that. It's definitely that or Morse code. I don't think it's anything too complex at this point. I don't know if I would want him to go to Bayern. I would rather him go to someplace like Dortmund or, Dortmund would be better because he's going to play because he's young and they play young players, or, Eintracht Frankfurt or something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if Dortmund has reached out. I mean, he fits their MO. Young does. Striker, but he's already he's finding those back the nets. I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised if a bigger club in France went after him. But I guess wherever they throw cash at you, I guess you'll go. If I were him, I would be really careful.
I don't know how.
Fucking A.
So yeah. I don't know how Balogun might want to go to Bayern because apparently Bayern under the reigns of Tuchel are also interested in this guy.
No. Don't do it. Stay away from Tuchel. God help us all.
Tuchel's apparently interested in getting like 5 of the players who aren't currently playing for Chelsea to bring over the Bayern.
BMR asked, you think Tuchel hates Americans? No, I don't think he hates Americans. I hate watching his games. I hate watching his brand of football. I don't want to watch his brand of football. So please, Americans, don't go to Bayern. He'll turn Bayern into the most boring ass team you've ever watched play. I mean, he might even Chelsea Bayern. We don't know. I mean, granted, he did win a Champions League with Chelsea. We can't forget that.
Second or third in the league in Champions League, yeah.
But I'm just not a fan of him as a manager. So he wherever he's gone, he does do pretty good, at least at the beginning, and then it kind of peters out. But yeah.
But yeah,
right.
Apparently with Pulisic, there's strong interest in England, Italy, and Germany. Well, I mean, yeah, of course there's going to be interest at that point.
No shit. That's like, okay. Yeah, that's just ridiculous. That's like saying young men are interested in masturbating. Of course they are.
Solid contact there.
It's from who?
Fabrizio.
Yeah, but that's just like everybody. That's every league. The only league that's not in there is Spain. That's worth a hilt. Or France. And France is on the lower level of the top 5. So I don't know. I just don't think it's worth it. This post is worth it because I don't think there's enough info there. It's kind of like, yeah, of course.
Craig. After Pulisic said such nice things about you in the interview, you're going to say that about him? Come on.
If he goes to Bayern, he's going to have a hard time finding playing time. There's just no doubt about that. I'm sorry. That is true. It's true. Greg's right. He will have to work his way
under the tutelage of Tuchel. He wouldn't be a starter at Bayern. He'd be a super sub that comes in and gets 20 minutes a game, probably scores 12 goals.
12?
I'm making things up, Derek.
Yeah, you are. 12's a lot. All right, what else we got? Okay, Inter Milan move for Antalyaspor striker Haji Wright. I'm sorry. I'm not believing any of this shit.
Once it happens, Derek might believe.
No, I'm not going to believe this until it's a fact. I mean, Haji Wright has gone over to Turkey. Yes, he's performed well, but anybody worth their salt knows that Turkey's league has gone fucking to the shithole in the last probably decade or so. That league is crumbs compared to what it used to be. All the big teams in that league, they've lost one of their auto spots in Champions League. But they used to have Galatasaray, Besiktas. They used to have some, like, at least 3 teams where you're like, those teams are going to be really good. And then they started doing, well, they've been doing it for a while, too much MLS shit, right? All they did is go out like MLS shit like 10 years ago and buy a bunch of foreign players who are way over the hill. And that worked for a while. And now, you know, you don't have, like, this generation of Turkish players has been really affected by the lack of amount of Turkish players in the Turkish league, and their national team isn't that good, and the league isn't that good because the ceiling has been lowered in that league. The floor has been lowered. So get out of there, but you're not going to. Don't go.
You might have been fun with the ceiling too, though.
Inter Milan, it's not that. I wouldn't go.
What do you think? What do you think Haji's seeing here? What's giving this look of concern? Or do you think it's like hunger, maybe?
Have you ever seen the movie Everything You Wanted to Know About Sex, But Were Afraid to Ask?
Yeah? No, I haven't.
By Woody Allen?
No.
At one point in the movie, there was a giant. When I say giant, I mean like really large, like Godzilla-sized breasts that were attacking villages and towns and squirting and drowning the people.
Worst ways to die, I'm sure.
Squirting and drowning them with the milk coming out of the nipples. So this in the movie, it's this giant floating pair of boobs. That's what I think he's seeing there.
You don't think he's looking off at the audience and they're eating all the kebabs and stuff, and he's going, "Oh, that looks good.
I don't think so.
I want that. I know where I'm going after this game."
That looks like it has a more of a concerned look.
Okay, fair enough.
That's why I'm thinking giant breasts attacking people more than I think.
Judgmental deity says he saw Greg with his shirt off.
I don't think Greg's deformed in any way, so I think that would be okay. Yeah, I don't think he'd look like that.
He's practically Skeletor.
That looks more like Greg whipped. That looks more like Greg whipped his schlong out, not Greg took his shirt off. He's like, dude, You better put that shit back in. All right. What else we got?
Okay, let's see. I think we're actually done with the transfer news, Derek. So I think you're off light this week.
Okay, good. No, I mean off light. That was a lot. That was a lot. All right.
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 today, and we had like 3 or 4 on Tuesday. So
yeah,
Derek
indeed.
started going like he's here in his sleep. He's saying, he's like, no.
I guess most of them are horseshit. So it's just, I mean, you can read them, but don't let them like get into your brain hole because it's just not worth it. Because it's just, most of it's just horseshit. I mean, that's proven over the last number of years that it's bullshit. So I'd like to hear more about where Dest is thinking about going.
Well, he's not staying at AC Milan.
Hell no, he's not. The question,
AC Milan posts that presser every week. It's like every Monday. It's like AC Milan will not be exercising their contract to buy Dest. Dest is going to be going back to Barcelona, and they're like, "Well, no shit. You've said this like 500 times already. Stop it. You're hurting his mental state." Michael
Hassman says that reminds me more of a Monty Python. Could have swore a similar skit occurred back in it. Now there are Monty Python guys, I thought, in everything you wanted to know about sex but were afraid to ask. But there is also another Monty Python sex-based movie, and that's the one where the guy's in front of the classroom and he's having simulated sex, and he's the teacher with a woman, and he's like, "Okay, I've removed."
Wait. You said Monty Python, and there's actually women involved here?
Yes.
Okay.
And he's in front of a classroom of kids, and he's removed her dress or whatever. She's half nude. And then he says, "All right, children, what should we do about now?" And some kid raises his hand, and he goes, "Okay, you." And the kid goes, "Go for the clitoris." And then he says, "Now, Johnny, you don't go jumping straight for the clitoris." So anyhow, it's about foreplay. Foreplay. All right. What are we doing next?
Well, unless you've got anything else, I figure we might as well just jump right into the Hudson for U.S. manager.
Oh, you mean 30 minutes in? We got to talk about one of the actual topics?
I mean, yeah, I ran out of bullshit topics pretty quickly.
Okay. Well, let's do the Hudson.
Been one of those weeks, Derek. Go ahead. Figured bring up Wes Phillips here. He tagged us in his comment about your thumbnail.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of the guys and I'm kind of there with him. It's not that I don't dislike the fact that Hudson has poked Greg in the eye and gone to a 4-2-3-1 and got rid of, purely positional play, which is Greg's thing. I like those things, but I'm not sure he's the guy yet. Like I said, I think I posted this on Twitter. He's got about 5% chance at this point. I said 2 earlier, maybe 5% chance of becoming the manager, and he would have to do something amazing in the interim in order to make that happen. And every time he beats Mexico, maybe he goes up 5%.
That could be right there.
So we'll see what happens. He's going to have time because we've got no sporting director. But I just don't see. I mean, there are lots of people on the Twitterverse now saying keep him or hire Hudson, and I just think that's premature. Don't you?
Yeah, it's one of those things that we're looking at Hudson and his limited performances so far, and we liked a lot of what we've seen. There's still some things that really have to be ironed out by any means, but I love the fact that we're a little more fluid in the attack. We got to work with that, but I mean, it's whether or not Hudson's the option there. I don't think that's the case. I think we've got to find. I think, especially since we're hosting the fucking World Cup, it can't be Hudson at this point.
Yeah, it can't be. I don't think it necessarily can't be him. I mean, it could be.
Well, yeah.
If
there's an infinite amount of realities out there, Derek. Of course, it can. It could be.
It could be. I'm just saying the percentage is really low, and that yes, he is successful. Maybe that percentage level goes up.
Ooh, there you go.
But I just don't see it going up enough in the time that he's going to have. Although he could have a lot more time than we think, because it sounds like they're moving like a bunch of snails at U.S. Soccer.
Yeah.
So,
No,
KJ
we don't have to qualify, so there's no need to get a coach right now, right?
yeah. So, I mean, it could be a while, folks. Kaiju Sports Club. Boy, I've seen that.
Kaiju.
Twitter. Is it Kaiju?
Yeah.
I've seen that name around. I swear to God. Hudson.
We pulled up a couple of his comments throughout the shows.
Okay, so my memory isn't horrible. Hudson has done the obvious that most of us thought should be done with the lineups. Not impressive. Yeah, I mean, to you and I, they're obvious. They certainly weren't obvious to Greg. So there's that.
He's stuck in his ways.
And there is a possibility that if you hire somebody else who is a clueless fuck, they will go back to not doing the obvious, maybe doing something stupid. Or, I mean, look, Mexico hired Tata. That seemed like an obviously good pick, but then he did not do the obvious. He went with old fucks, ignored some of his best players in Europe, and, now he's gone, of course. They got a new guy there named Coco. But, and people are kind of waiting to see what happens there with this. How are you going to integrate the old generation with some of these new guys in Holland and elsewhere in Europe that are doing well? And then a lot of the guys are just younger guys just didn't turn out really for Mexico. So, I mean, they got a battle going ahead. So, yeah, is he doing the obvious? I guess. I don't know, him changing to a 4-2-3-1. Maybe that seems obvious since a lot of us have been asking for it. Yeah.
The top of Mount Everest. Play the 4-2-3-1.
but I'm not ready to axe him out. I mean, we'll see what he does, but I still think the chances he gets the job are very tiny at this point.
I guess the big question will be is whether or not he's going to be able to get the most out of the players. And I guess if you continue playing your best players in the spots that they should be playing at, and you're a people person, maybe that's all you need to do.
And keep in mind, this is the first time we played a 4-2-3-1. And it's the first time, if you want to call it a front four, that we've had DK, Reyna, Pulisic, and who played on the right? Zendejas have ever played with one another. Ever. In that formation, too.
Well, all four in that formation, yes. Now, mind you, Pulisic and Reyna played in that formation literally a couple days prior, but...
Can you imagine? I mean, that's part of being a great team is playing enough together in a certain formation to know where everybody's going to be, right? Like, I know instinctively that Chad is going to make this run. Chad McGowan's going to make this run. Yes. I know instinctively that Mark Dick's cutting in from the left and this is going to be a through ball to him. But if you don't know it because you haven't played enough with the players, you're kind of dilly-dallying around and figuring it out as it's going on. And we still won 1-0 versus El Salvador, dilly-dallying around. And that's what it was. Because once you drop the positional play and you're offering players the freedom to make those kind of cuts and moves, and then they're going to have to get to know each other and what their tendencies are. And they haven't had that chance. So the Squeaker 1-0 win was, I guess... In the end, we're going to say, whew, thank God, because it could have been worse.
Well, I'll get to Christopher's comment here in just a second, but off the whole Squeaker 1-0 win, and a lot of people brought this up on Twitter in the sense that if our team could learn how to finish their chances, we wouldn't have these Squeaker 1-0 games. I mean, Reyna hit the post. Weston missed a clear, obvious, should have been at least on goal header.
Pepe
scored his chance.
No, but he missed one too.
Oh, did he miss one? Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, that pass from Booth? That was just right to him. Yeah.
And on top of that, you take Pulisic's miss from Luca De La Torre. Yep. I mean, we had a chance to put some goals up, and we just failed to capitalize. And that's on the players in that sense. The opportunities were there, and that's one of the positives I'm looking at because the chances on goal with Greg were not as great. These 1-0 squeakers were designed, But we could have easily put up 4 goals. Could have.
No, we never got this many chances. Good, outright scoring chances under Greg. Never. Not like what we just did. It could have been 4-0. It could have been 5-0. Could have been 4-1. Could have been 4-2. I mean, they had a couple chances too, right? That they put wide. So let's say they're Trinidad and Tobago circa 2017. Maybe one of those fucking things goes in.
Yeah.
So, weird shit happens too. So at least we didn't allow any weird shit to happen. So that's a good one too. So it seems like the back line is still solidified, but keep in mind, we just did play Grenada, and El Salvador. So
to Christopher's point here, he says, how do we know he isn't our guy? And I guess taking a look at just the negatives that we've seen so far, and the only negative I really had come up with for the most part is just who he played when. And maybe this was maybe he felt like DK would have performed better against El Salvador and how they should have played, but he didn't. And I personally would have played our guaranteed, our tried and true, if you will.
You wanted Pepe.
I would have wanted Pepe, and I also would have preferred Aronson over Zendejas in this match, simply because of the amount of performances that they played with the other players.
I get that. Although I'm still cool with Zendejas because I think a lot of those guys like Pulisic, and they know Zendejas. They've known him since youth days. So I didn't have a problem with that, but I agree with you on DK. But that is kind of a small criticism, isn't it?
It is small criticism, yes.
Yeah.
It's also a small sample size. We're talking about at most, 4 games?
Yeah.
And 2 of them were with MLS only.
Yeah. So I'd say I don't have a lot to complain about. And I will give him also credit, Hudson, for this. His interviews don't make me want to stab myself in the fucking skull with a fucking ice pick. I swear to God. Thank God for that. Like watching Greg interviews made me want to vomit like I did this morning.
BA wasn't overly great. I mean, he got his goal against Grenada, but then again, who didn't score against Grenada in that sense? And he says he would have picked Booth over both. And again, this is just one of those things. We're looking at a must-get result game. Probably going into the window, you probably would assume that it probably would have a must-win result. Not even must-win, sorry. A must-get a result.
I would have liked to seen Booth start one of the games. Absolutely, I'll go with that. And you're right about the goals against Grenada. I mean, that was like a GG fest. And I mean, German goo girls. That's like everybody gets some, So
it's tough to take in that consideration. But I wouldn't have played our probably top striker at that point. And we have our gripes with Aronson, but I would have probably started him against El Salvador instead. And I would have the big question at that point: would you have started Zendejas or Booth against Grenada?
Well, I mean, I would have liked to have seen more Booth. Period in both games.
Sure.
And I am biased because I do have an Aronson hangover because I watched every Leeds game.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little irritated with Aronson. So I was happy to see Zendejas, but I would have preferred to see more Booth. I would have liked to see more Booth. And I realized he made some bad crosses, but come on. That should have been a goal for Pepe. He laid it right to Pepe, and Pepe missed a point-blank shot.
I mean, there were a couple. I mean, you have to remember this is Booth's second window because he played in the Camp Cupcake. Last year, was it?
Are you talking about Booth?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he played in the Camp Cupcake last year, not this most recent Camp Strudel or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But the last Camp Cupcake. So he needs time to adjust. And same thing with Zendejas for that matter. He needs time to adjust as well. I know some people are already writing him off and saying like he's improvement off of Roldan and Morris, but not by much. And I'm like, well, let's see what he can do. I like a lot of the stuff. He has some promising aspects. I think his first touch was absolute garbage in that match, but then again, so was Pulisic's.
No, Pulisic's was the worst on the field.
So it's and one thing that Zendejas brought to the table is that after his first bad touch, he busted his ass to make sure he added pressure if he was dispossessed, or he laid it off immediately. So
don't miss. Make sure you roll back. There's a good Adam Wiggins question there that we
the 4-2-3-1 one. How does Adams fit?
There's a couple in a row. Yep.
I brought FIFA Man because we're on his apparently we're on his tweet right now.
Okay.
He just got in. So
how does Adams fit into the 4-3-1? I mean, he can fit in as a part of the double pivot. The question is, somebody's got to go. So you could play McKenny Musa there. You've got to keep in mind if you play Adams as part of the double pivot like they do in Leeds, that is just a player who has some limitations on what he's going to be able to give you going forward. So, and we've seen that with Leeds this season. He's really good at ball stopping. He kills off attacks by the other team completely. He's a destroyer, and he covers lanes amazingly. There's so many great things Adams does. One thing he does not do is provide you anything in the final third. He might as well not be there. And that's a sad thing to say, but it's true. So if you do end up playing a consistent double pivot for the U.S. men's national team, it could end up being a battle depending on who you're playing, right? If you're playing somebody who's going to be really aggressive, maybe you want Adams as part of the double pivot. But if you're playing a team that you think you should be beating, maybe you play two more offensive-minded box to box.
It gives you the creativity to adapt to each match.
Yes, and I think that's fine as long as Adams is fine on occasion, riding some pine, because that's what he's going to have to do. Maybe he comes in to close out matches at the end, and you pull Musa off. Although Musa's going to have to show me more, I have to say, before I start calling for a McKenny Musa, regular pairing in the double pivot. So right now,
there are vast times during the El Salvador game that I forgot that Musa was even on the pitch.
Exactly. Yep. And that's got to be fixed. By the way, I'm drinking a Golden Monkey by Victory tonight. Just thought I'd let everybody know.
I was drinking vodka Sprite. All gone.
All gone. You didn't plan well.
No, I'm just keeping it at a minimum during the show.
All right. Oh, okay.
I stayed home all day. So, I mean, I went out for lunch. I went out and ordered some food. I got some nice wings from a place called Big Wood.
Nice. Big Wood. I like that.
Entertainment and food at the same time. No, it's a really good place. They have some craft beer, so I got a nice IPA for that. And then doing a lot of the work today, I was drinking vodka Sprite. So, I mean, it's like I came to the show. I'm like, I've only got to come with this because I don't want another drunk bread experience.
An IPA, huh? Was it any good?
Nice beer. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Good
All
stuff.
Right. How bitter was it?
It was the bitterest. That was good. It was good. It was really good.
All right. Okay. So we got to the question about the double pivot. What was the other guy before this?
Oh, it was just FIFA Man 7 says he just got on the show, and you're showing my tweet. I made it to the big time.
Okay, is this his tweet?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, he said that, so I'm just taking him for his word.
Okay, yeah. So, hey, thanks for sending in something relevant. And I don't know how much more I have to say about Hudson in general. I think
not a lot more to go on from here. Yeah,
I think we'll have to wait and see how this develops.
I think he's got Nations League through at least, maybe Gold Cup, given how slow USSF and Sportsology are going here.
Yeah, Berlin Amerikaner, our friend, asks, when are you going to do a live watch-along stream for a Euro game? I've done one. I did one with Pete. Where were you for that?
We need to pick a Leeds match or something to watch.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Brett's really busy on the weekends. He has kids, right? And things to do.
Kids will be all around, 100%.
So the only time I'm probably going to do it is when Pete asks me to do one. And then I'll be on his show doing the live streams, maybe a Leeds game going forward. We'll see how that works out.
So, wrong one. It was Al Weinstein says that Adam's hamstring is jacked up. Yeah, he just went on surgery. He's out for quite some time.
Hey, speaking of Adams and Adam, that Adam guy that they've been having on the show, U.S. men's national team Stan U.S. You know what he is in real life? He's a fucking college basketball coach. I'm not shitting you. He is a coach for a third division basketball team in New York, somewhere in New York. Bard College. So that's really interesting. But apparently he played goalie when he was in high school or something. He was quite the basketball player, though. The basketball player. An undersized forward. So kind of like a Larry Bird-ish sort of thing, I guess, the way he played, the way it was described. So interesting to find that out about Adam. I did not know that about him. So yeah, I did some Adam stalking. I'm like, who is this motherfucker?
Must find out who you are.
Yes. All right.
Dan W says, I'm thinking of inviting a girl on a first date to that restaurant. Wouldn't be a good idea.
Big Wood?
Because I'm thinking, hey, where are we going to go eat? We're going to go eat at Big Wood.
There's no problem with saying that, unless
it's not a male strip club, though. Trust me.
No, it's just food, Dan W. Unless you're worried about giving her expectations that you can't live up to after dinner. If you start with Big Wood, you're going to have to end with some Big Wood. So there's that.
Like how long do you like your sausage? Like little links, or tell me when to stop. Tell me when to stop. This big, really? Oh my god.
I mean, if you're going to give her subliminal stuff, like you go to eat dinner at a Big Wood, you order her a Long Island iced tea, you're starting to throw some, visuals in her head. So when it comes to the end of the date and things are getting hot and heavy, you're going to have to bring the Big Wood. All right. Samuel Lesowing. That is such an interesting name. Lesowing. I think I may have asked what is the cultural root of that last name. And I don't know if he's already provided it or not, but he has provided $10. So thank you. Thank you, Samuel. Remember when I asked for career advice after I lost my job from you guys? Well, I followed it and am going back to get my MBA and found a full-time job that doubled my salary in the meantime. Thanks, guys. I know you're laughing about it. We are too, but man, if we even get this much credit, that makes my heart very fucking warm. It really does, Samuel. So congratulations. I'm glad you stuck with it because listen, if you leave the program and once you leave school, very rarely do people go back.
Hard to go back. Yeah.
Yeah. Life starts and then it's just hard to get it back. So, all right, what else we got here? That's it with the Hudson issue.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, that's all I got for Hudson.
Do you want to talk about the Balogun quote by good old Southgate?
Yep, we'll get that in just a second.
Unless we're
going to still talk about Balogun here.
Okay.
The U.S. men's national team only says
breaking. Florin Balogun will reportedly pick the U.S. men's national team per a Team Talk exclusive. What's Team Talk? Team Talk can reveal the 21-year-old is ready to make a commitment to the United States men's national team ahead of England. We understand the officials are confident that they can persuade him to commit to them. That's my 1950s news voice.
Yeah, you hear?
Yeah, Team Talk can reveal that the 21-year-old is ready to make a commitment to the United States men's national team ahead of England. Yeah, that's fine, but we already knew this. Team Talk didn't have to tell us this. 29 told us.
That's what he's saying. He's saying, like, bro, this is already out there.
Yeah. 29 already told us that Balogun, and I quote, will pick the United States men's national team. Will. Hasn't done it yet, but will pick them. So there you go. I don't know. If you don't want to believe 29, you don't have to. But it's not like he's out there telling us all these stories about how he's, fucking Pulisic sister or some weird shit like that. No, he's just telling us some normal stuff, usually. And it's working out. Balogun walking into the U.S. men's national team camp. Why are people cheering for Stephen A. like this?
I don't know. That's a big question, isn't it?
One of the most annoying, one of the most annoying motherfuckers ever to Dawn a Mike.
He's definitely lived up to his character in that sense. It's definitely a character at this point. He may be making a point, but he's definitely running a character.
Yeah, 29 doesn't lie. You're right, Chris Gary. And did 29 deny the dog kick? He didn't know anything about the dog kick. We talked to him about. He doesn't know anything about Miazga. No, he doesn't know shit about Miazga at all. And it doesn't seem like the team talks about Miazga at all either. So there's that. Doesn't seem like a big loss to them, I guess is what I would say. Gareth Southgate. Okay, let's get into this. Is some great fucking arrogancy. I haven't spoken to Balogun yet because to this point he hasn't been with the U21s and very happy. clearly other nations have been quite aggressive in their recruitment and what they are offering. That, in my experience of history, has sometimes been reach around really successful for the players and sometimes hasn't worked out. I've seen countries cap players at 16 or 17 and they've disappeared. In the end, as a player, I think you have to back yourself, but you have to go ultimately make the decision. I'm reading it like I'm Churchill. All right. What else will you? There's another slide.
So I guess let's
okay, go ahead.
Let's do this first, okay? So
yeah,
he's been with the U21s and very happy.
Yes.
Other nations are actively trying to recruit him. Obvious again.
Yep.
But then this statement right here, where he talks about, he goes, "I've seen countries cap players at 16 and 17, and they've disappeared." Yeah,
he's not 16 or 17.
He's
number
not,
one.
Yeah.
And he's not like a 16, 17-year-old buried on some, ridiculous team somewhere in Belgium or somewhere. This is a guy who's competing for the Golden Boot in France. You dumb fuck. It's French. Leçon. The dream. Leçon. Okay, I like it. Leçon. Okay.
It's
Leçon.
Cool.
Thank you. Leçon. Thank you, Samuel. I'm glad that does help me out because I haven't seen a French name like that before, oddly enough. So anyhow, sorry, Brett, did I interrupt you?
No. But I mean, you're talking about how Balogun's not 16 or 17 years old. He's competing at League the Golden Boot.
For the Golden Boot. He's competing for the Golden Boot. I don't understand how, he's minimizing what he's doing with these quotes. He's like, yeah, are you intimating that he is 16 or 17? Are you intimating that he's playing in a shitty league or a league that isn't competitive? Well, yes, he is saying that, because then he goes on to say, Chris Gary says for $4.99, have a great weekend, guys. Going to catch the rest of the show on rewatch. Come on, Leeds. Yes, my brother. Let's do it. Come on, against Arsenal. Huge game this weekend. McKenny goal. Calling it now. Man,
Chris, also make sure you make a bet that Chicago's going to lose so that they can win. Appreciate that.
From your lips to God's ears, Chris Gary, on the Leeds part. All right. Sorry you couldn't stick around. And then Gareth Southgate goes on and says, we would like him to give it some time. And if he's progressing the way he is and continues that progression, there will be opportunities for him. But I cannot offer him that this week. I think if we did, I don't think it would be fair to Ivan Toney, who has given me a reach around. Scored the goals he has in the Premier League. Flow, we like. He obviously not had an opportunity in the Premier League yet, so we have yet to weigh up those goals to Ivan, for example, or Ollie Watkins, or Eddie Nketiah, I can't say it, who has done really well with the opportunity he has had at Arsenal. All right, so that's all bullshit. Well, it's like saying French league is just dog shit.
Yeah. But it's 100% what he's saying. He's like, he scored 16 goals in league. But this guy over here in the EPL, much tougher league, he's scoring 6 goals. And you can make that argument. It's perfectly fine. But he's saying there's no way that we can weigh the goals between him and insert random players here. There could be a way. You could, I don't know, it's a weird thing. You could call him up and take a look at him at the national team level and see how they compete.
You know who else has you know who else hasn't scored any goals in the Premier League this season? Messi, Mbappe. Yeah, there are lots of guys that haven't scored any goals. Neymar, thank you. Dude's acting like he wouldn't take Neymar, Messi, or Mbappe. Man, we are right here, Timothy, you and I, because I didn't read what you said. Full clown. He is a full clown, which is why I did the voice that I did, because he's like a super drunk Churchill. That's what he is. And it's just sad. It's like he's saying my asshole lips could do better in France than they could in the EPL. I don't understand this thinking. Like the kid, if he were 10th on the list in scoring in France, I go, okay, I get what you're saying here, but he's not 10th. He's 3rd. And he's right on the verge of competing for that top goal scoring spot in France. And you can't tell me that's not worth anything.
Or at the very minimum, you have a kid scoring goals in Ligue 1. He's scoring them by the bucket loads. And maybe you're sitting there going, well, I don't know how to gauge that compared to how people are doing in EPL. EPL is a better league. Would he be doing this here? I don't know. Well, then why don't you reach out to him and say, hey, why don't you come train with us?
Or
we're really interested. I'd like to see how you act here. Why don't you come train with us? And then maybe we're looking at the next window, as an opportunity.
Exactly, because he could say, hey, Flo. No, I'm sorry you'd say it like this. Hey, Flo, we just had 2 players go down. They're injured, and we need someone to replace them. Would you be willing to come in and play in this window with us, at least train with us and be on the roster? And then he would have got him. Yeah. He wouldn't even have to cap him, but he would have had him. He would have had him when he had the 2 injuries in camp. He could have brought in another player, and he just decided not to do it because he's an arrogant little fucking prick. I'm sorry.
Is this going to go down similar to the whole Subotic debacle where was it Rongen who told him that he just didn't think that he was ready for the World Cup stage at that point in his career, or something along those lines? I'm paraphrasing, of course.
Yes, it was Rundgren, although Subotic did crumble to pieces as a player, and he retired at the age of 32.
But he did actually go to an actual World Cup with Serbia. It was Serbia, right?
And he played like shit. So, yeah. I mean, we would have liked to have him at the time.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Yeah, and I'm
not giving that dumbass Rundgren a pass. That's for sure. That guy's, he's like a sack of marbles up there in the old noggin. All right, so that is the flow portion of the show. This might be a shorter show than normal. We might get done in a normal time period.
Crazy talk.
Instead of 2 hours. What else we got, Brett? Did you have anything you want to cover? We got, Eric!
Jumped right into the article. Now, Derek, I haven't actually read this article. I knew about it. I haven't had any time to actually sit down and read it. So this is going to be a new thing for me. I'll hear fresh ears, virgin ears.
Let me just give you my quick impression of it before I read it, parts of it, which is I read it, and when I got to the bottom of it, I said, is that it? Is this article over? And yeah, it was. But, it has some good pertinent points in it. So there are things that he says where you're like, hell, yeah, that makes sense. So let's speaking of married to mediocrity, I wouldn't have used those. That's like, I don't know. I haven't talked to Hartz about that. All right. The recent debacle at the top of the game in America caused uproar, but the same patterns are repeated through the sport in the U.S. Okay. That's sort of like the get you going. So here we go. The American soccer community is still reeling from the fallout between the U.S. men's national team coach Greg Berhalter and the Reina family. It left the men's soccer program in an absolute shambles without a head coach, sporting director, general manager. The whole thing is a mess. And yet we see similar things in soccer across the U.S. every day. It's a product of the industry you created. Parents feel entitled because they hand over big money for their child to play. They effectively pay to have an opinion. Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. As the men's game in America continues to stall, the women's game is still thriving after 2 successive World Cup victories, and the rest of the world looks at us and wonders why we can't figure it out. I don't think they do in comparison to the women. They all know why the women are doing well. We were way ahead of the rest of the world with Title IX. Mm-hmm. And because of that, we had solid collegiate programs for women's soccer that go back for years now.
Yes.
No other country had that.
100%. Yeah.
So I wouldn't compare. That's comparing apples to pears right there, Eric. So on that one, I'm not sure I'm following.
And on top of that, we can barely keep our women's league operational.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be talking with Steven soon about some of that stuff. But
right.
So once we get him on here, but yeah, no, I don't necessarily see his concept as far as the men's game stalling. We have more and more players going to Europe and actually succeeding.
I disagree with the stalling part.
Yeah.
U.S. soccer is stalling, the
Yeah.
organization, but not development of better players. That's not stalling. That is at an all-time high. And I think you need to make that distinction if you're going to read an article or write an article like this, because it's really so general. You're like, oh, so U.S. soccer, the organization sucks and the team sucks and the players suck. And that's just not the case. The players are better than they've ever been. So there we go. Why is U.S. soccer still a laughing stock? I don't think U.S. soccer is a laughing stock. So I'm going to disagree with them there. I don't think Germany and England, who takes us very seriously at this point, a lot of countries don't look at us and go, oh, yeah, fuck those guys. We'll beat them.
Yeah.
They think this could be competitive, and they're not taking us lightly. Certainly, Holland did not take us lightly at all because they had a whole game plan to beat us at what they thought we were going to do. If they thought we were some crumb mongers, some rat gerbils, then they wouldn't even bother to plan for us. People don't want to hear the reasons why, because they're totally counterproductive to the industry we created. But here's the first one. There are too many kids playing soccer. Yeah, he does fix this. Let me rephrase that. It's wonderful that the kids are playing the beautiful game, no doubt. But there are too many parents paying thousands of dollars for their kids to play alongside truly great players. That's not helping our best ones, and it doesn't help the average ones who are outclassed in every game they play. Our best players need to be playing with and against each other, not alongside a bunch of kids who effectively act as training cones and basically paid their way in. Now, this is different everywhere you go in the country. It's not the same thing. Like, there are clubs that do take paid players that don't deserve to be there, but that is not the case in every elite club. Like, you cannot pay your way into certain clubs. They will not take you if you don't qualify, you're not good enough. But there are plenty of clubs right here. I mean, in Indiana, there's good examples in Bloomington. You will get in.
You got the Carmel, the Fire Academy that runs through there, Westfield, Zionsville combination.
Yep.
It really depends on the location of the team, and because obviously you take a look at Chicago, using them as an example.
Yep.
You have Chicago Fire, and they're good players at the academy level that opt to not even join Chicago Fire because they're already at a top. They're already playing well with the other top clubs in Chicago. You've got enough players there. Now he's not. I don't think he's talking about the best clubs around the United States. I think he's talking about good players at medium size.
Cutters FC in Bloomington. Yeah.
So and the problem is the infrastructure. The infrastructure as a whole sucks donkey dick.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no opportunity for these clubs to make money the way that it's currently run, and it would have to take a stroke of God that they would change the system where they would not charge these players. And you're talking about like the top academies are already there, but the rest of the clubs around the United States, a club out here in Fishers. Let's use Fishers as a bad example. Money's there, but say there's a club in McCordsville. Nobody, even people in Indiana, probably don't even know where McCordsville is at, but it's just south of Fishers. They've got a club there, but there's no way in hell that they could survive if they didn't charge anything.
Right.
It just wouldn't happen. Wouldn't happen.
So here's the solution. I have a solution. And here is the solution. Let's say you're a club that has to charge players to come to your a portion of their players at least, so to keep the club alive, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say you have a contract with the parents that, yes, they're paying now, but if we're able to develop your player and we sell him to a pro club down the line for that 15% or whatever it ends up being that they'll get for selling that player to a professional team, they have to give that portion of the money back to the parents and say, thank you. We just sold your player for $1 million. Here's all of the fees you paid at our club. Because that basically then makes it seem more like a European system where the parents don't pay shit in Germany to give their kids to a club to raise them.
Well, the gist of it is that if you're a pay-to-play club, then you're not entitled to that fee.
But they are.
Not if you're pay-to-play, no.
Yeah, they are. In this system currently, there have been a couple lawsuits that have been successful, and even if you're a portion of you,
Whether they
even
fail.
if it's a small portion of your academy is pay to play, you still get your money from training the player if he is sold on to a pro team.
Let me go back and look at this. I thought they failed.
No,
I thought the big one with Yedlin failed. I thought that one failed.
I have to go back at the legal things, but I do believe that that the Yedlin one did fail. But since then, MLS has changed its policies, and so they're willing, if they got a team from an academy and then they end up selling a player on, the MLS will now allow MLS teams to take that money, but also pay back the academy from which they came into MLS. So
wait. Who's academy? Are you talking about like Chicago Fire's academy produced a player and they sold that player? Is that what you're saying, or are you saying like?
No. So what I'm saying is, you have an academy from which a player comes. That is not an MLS academy. But then they go to an MLS academy, and then from the MLS academy, they are sold on to a professional team. They will get a percentage, and so will the original academy get a percentage of those monies. So we'll have to see. We'll see if that's, I believe that's what I read, and that is now happening.
Sorry, I'm looking at some
So
stuff.
we'll see. Anyhow, let me move on this. The petite club programs they're meant to play in aren't helping either. A while back, U.S. Soccer Federation de-emphasizing high school soccer in order to prioritize club soccer. That was a mistake. Our best young players now have no idea what pressure is. They play their biggest games in front of a few parents on lawn chairs rather than a buzzing high school stadium where pride and a sense of occasion are in line, as are your opponent's fans who are yelling at you for 90 minutes. I will say, in my day and in your day, that atmosphere was absolutely true. And you were playing for your high school. And that there was a lot of pride in that. Like, we wanted to beat Ballard in the state finals. We lost, but we were putting our pride on the line there. And what he's saying is, when you join this club shit, elite academy stuff, you're just playing these weekend little special games, but there's no real connection with your community. You're not representing anything because you're part of a system, is what he's saying.
Okay, and here's where I'll disagree, and I agree with John in this sense. So I played for a high school that had at most 800 students. And we played, and again, this is all Indiana shit, so nobody's going to know this stuff, but we played Hancock County clubs for the most part in our conference. And those Podunk country club or schools. Mm-hmm. So when we say like, oh, there's this sense of rivalry. There are some games where there was a sense of rivalry, and there was some passion that was involved there. But most of the time, it's just parents sitting in the stands, and when something good happens, like yay, that's about it. It's nothing special. So I mean, it really depends. I think that's going to be completely different if you're playing in an inner city high school in Los Angeles compared to bumfuck Indiana. So it just depends.
So again, what Eric is saying is true some places, but not all places. Now, when I played high school soccer, we did have a lot of fans in the stands. That's probably changed since 1986 and 87 and 88, right? I mean, back then we were on an army base, so we would actually have like whole groups of soldiers come out and watch our games too. Something the crowd was pretty good sized, and it was like you were playing for something, bigger. Your high school.
Who knows? Maybe military based schools are going to be like that. There's going to be that sense of connection, unity, passion, etc.
Well, when we played Ballard, it was pretty full. When we played the big Louisville teams, private school teams, there was a lot of crowd too. It was when, you're right, we went and played West Hardin out in the middle of fucking nowhere in Hardin County. There's like our fans and like 500 people. There's nobody there.
Berlin says, dude, Ballard's a women's college.
How'd that get in there?
Because you kept saying Ballard.
No, Ballard, it might be a woman's college, but Ballard was the.
Are you saying Ballard?
Ballard, just as he spelled it, is one of the best and was one of the best high school soccer teams in Kentucky. Yes. So there you go. I don't know about Ballard to college. I have no idea. I've never heard of it.
But yeah, I understand his point. Quite frankly, there even playing against the bumfuck Indiana high schools in front of just parents and a couple of friends from your school or whatever. Even then, high school was a blast. That was a lot of fun to play in, regardless. I imagine, though, playing at a top club, and I'm going to use Indiana still as an example because of Carmel was a DA club in that time period. Carmel didn't hurt. Whenever USSF made that regulation and said, "Hey, the DA clubs, the kids can't play in high school. You've got to play your 10 months a year with your club." And that didn't hurt Carmel. Carmel probably could field 6 deep teams.
Yeah.
Of the amount of players that come through their system as a whole. So that didn't affect it. And I'm sure those kids that were playing for the DA club there, ended up branching off, going to college and expanding playing at the collegiate club, which would have happened regardless. But I'm sure they got it regardless. Now, the big question is, Carmel the Carmel DA club had to travel up to Chicago or travel to South Bend, down to Louisville to play these games against other DA clubs because there's not a whole bunch of DA clubs around here. Again, over in California and New York, you have so many within a small area. That's different. The travel's not extreme, whatever, but you still have to make these trips up. I mean, you still had a sense of passion and a sense of wanting to succeed, I guess. So you're playing against the best of the best in that sense.
So again, I mean, what we're both saying here, I think, is that, okay, Eric's comment here about high school soccer isn't necessarily key. It's just not. It's high school soccer is in many places in the United States not important. And it could be because of the evolution of things, but high school soccer, even before all these academies came out and clubs came out, it still wasn't that gigantic depending on where you were. So I don't think this is like a key point I will put in an article.
And I don't know how it is everywhere else, but again, at least here in Indy, that in order to coach a team, a high school team, for the most part, you're more likely to be a teacher in that district.
Yeah,
that's coaching it. Fortunately, when I went to high school, I had a coach who actually played college level soccer in Ohio. So I mean, he knew what he was doing. That's different than what most of the other high schools in our area did. I mean, you basically just had the social studies teacher that played a bit of rec and travel in his time. You know
what my coach was in high school? He's a guy that read that book 433.
Oh no, not the elusive 433.
Yeah, about the Dutch. 1970s, the Dutch evolution of soccer. He read the whole book, and that's how he decided, because he was a football guy.
Yeah,
he was a assistant football coach, and that's how he learned to coach soccer by reading, like, getting translated versions of Dutch books. Yeah, that's how he learned. And it was not bad. He did a good job.
My coach for the bulk of my youth career only learned how to coach soccer because his son wanted to play, and he ended up watching like old VHSs and watching like how 101 how to play soccer, stuff, and it's progressing. But I mean, ultimately, it was the same scenario in that sense.
Right.
So he had no idea about the sport at all. Played or coached.
Hey Al, thanks for the $4.99. We really appreciate it. Just some love for talking about our domestic system. Love this material. Yeah, we used to talk about it a lot more back in the day. We haven't talked about it as much now. Both of us know quite a bit about it, so maybe we'll talk more about it. If you guys want to hear more, we can. Part of one of the things that started getting me in trouble back way in the days was my criticism of the IMG Academy after the Donovan days, and how it totally got wrecked in one of my articles. Was it in Soccer 365 or something? Anyhow, yeah, I got basically pilloried by U.S. Soccer for putting that article out talking about the deficiencies of the IMG Academy at the time and why it was going downhill. So yeah, I used to cover this shit. So all right, let's move it on down here. So past the high school soccer part, the model of travel ball, youth soccer is often derisively called pay to play. But have you heard of stay to play? What many coaches have instituted policies requiring the entire team to stay at a certain hotel when they travel to tournaments. It tells you everything about where the priorities are. Okay. Again, when we traveled sometimes and we had games that we had to drive a far distance for, when we had sort of the Kentucky All-Star team thing, yeah, we stayed at specific hotels that sponsored our team. So that hasn't changed at all. So we went to specific hotels that would give us discounts for the team. And I'm pretty sure that's what most of this is.
So, and I guess we'll get into, maybe he'll expand from this, but I'll say from my time of playing travel pay-to-play soccer, I mean, I was a standard middle-income family, quite frankly, over in rural Indiana. So spending money on an actual travel team and also traveling to the surrounding states, or we went all the way up to Denver, went down to the Disney tournament there. A lot of those tournaments became our family's vacations. So I mean, having a group setting where I'm there with all my teammates, having all my it was encouraged to stay at the same hotel because it was a way of developing further team chemistry, just having fun with friends.
You probably don't remember because you weren't responsible for it, whether or not your family had to pay for it or not, or whether or not you were getting a special discount because your particular organization or club had a deal with that particular hotel.
We had to sell. No. We had to sell those like zoo book type shits.
Oh,
to help pay for some of that stuff. So that was something that the team did. But yeah,
God, I don't remember having to do any of that. I thought that the state paid for that, but I don't know. So I don't know how big of a deal that is or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd imagine that the teams do have sponsorships with hotel chains to get discounts for the parents. But if I agree with them, if you want to stay at a different hotel because you want to, then I'd say you should let the player do it and their family do it if they want to.
Well, let's see if he expands on it. Berlin says he has like 7 kids. He doesn't. Okay, never mind. He's talking about what's going on in 2023, not 1984 or whatever.
No, I get it. I'm trying to compare Berlin the two. And I'm just, from my own experience saying that a lot of the deals that even I made later on with other organizations as a business, we had deals with hotels where we would get deep discounts because we were only using their hotels for this conference or that conference. Those deals are made all the time. Now, if it's not beneficial to the players and their families, then yeah, there's a problem there. I get it, but that's usually not done by the coach or anything. That's usually done by administration. They set those deals up, not the coaches. So I don't know how big of a deal that is, but he did bring it up in the article, so we covered it.
So I mean, I guess the question, my question would be, is what's he alluding? Maybe he'll expand on this, but what's he alluding to as far as where their priorities are?
I don't know because he doesn't say. He does not expand on that. That's why I'm saying a lot of this article, I'm imagining, was edited down. I'm sure he had a lot more in this article. I'm sure it was like 6 pages long, and it only ends up being 1 page long.
Okay. We'll see what he says after that.
The national team used to operate by creating districts with trials. Out of that, they create a few state teams. In California, this is something we remember. In California, there'd be an A team and a B team from Cal South, an A and a B team from Cal North. They'd play against each other, and everyone knew who the best players were. It was funded by U.S. Soccer and called the Olympic Development Program, commonly known as ODP. Yeah. So this was around during our day. And then he said these parents, these days, our youth soccer arrangement is still ODP, but now it's the overdetermined parent program. These parents' goal is to get their child a college scholarship and essentially a return on the tens of thousands of dollars they've invested in youth sports.
So yeah, that's the funny part right there, because if you really think about the amount of money that you're spending into these youth programs in hopes that they get a scholarship, you could have just paid for them to go to college.
Right. Yeah. No, and I get what he's saying there, and it makes sense because back when you and I were, me, 10 years before you or more, there was that program. And so we had one from Kentucky, and we ended up going up and we played Indiana team, and we played the Missouri team. That's when I played against McBride. And I don't know if that was what it was all part of, because I was just a kid, right? I was just told where to go and what to do, and then I was on this all-star team for the state, and that's where you went and played a tournament. And so I did, and I played with all these other guys. There were like 3 guys from our team on the team. There were like 6 guys from Ballard, 2 guys from another high school team. It was all high school guys, and then we went in and played these all-star tournaments. And I guess that was probably what he's talking about here, how they were all broken down by region and state, and then you went and played each other. And from that, they picked the best players. But none of us thought we were going to play professional soccer because there was no professional league. Nobody had any inkling that was something. We were just doing it because we loved to play, right? Yeah. And if we got recruited by a college soccer team like Chad McGowan, he did end up playing college soccer. But I wasn't recruited, and others weren't either. So,
and I guess the point at this point, because he's been talking about the system it is now, and how you don't have the best playing each other. But I guess the whole point of the DA or developmental academies was that you were going to play the best of the best, because hopefully you would imagine that the Carmel DA would go out and make sure that they got the best local talent, which is quite frankly predominantly going to be in that region. Mm-hmm. And a couple kids from like Columbus would make the trip up and practice with them and stuff like that. But you're taking the best of the best of a region, and then you're branching off and you're going and facing the best of South Bend and whatever DA clubs were in Michigan that always came down in that. They'd go to Chicago, they'd go to Louisville. They'd play the best of the area. I mean, I don't know if they still have the ODP. I don't know if ODP is still around or what version of it is. But
what, ODP?
Yeah.
No, it's still around. I don't know what version it looks like anymore either. Because apparently as U.S. Soccer has evolved, so has ODP. And it's a real mess because you're really not drawing any of those best players from high school teams anymore, obviously, unless there is a state, and there are states where you have a club academy, but you also can play high school soccer the same time you're at the club, and there's some sort of relationship and partnership between the high schools and the local academy.
Well, there's a difference between a club and a DA club. Now, mind you, I don't even know if DA is still active as far as how it's described, but like those academies,
Yeah. Maybe we need to dig back in this again. So the curvy yellow, thank you for the $2, my friend.
I don't know. That yellow is not very curvy, man. It's a pretty flat card there.
The curvy yellow. I like that. The Turd and Chris Gary duopoly is now over. Were they running a duopoly? That's what I want to know. Because nobody gets to. We don't have any editors as far as I know. Tact has people in his chat that will like delete motherfuckers. Anyhow, but we don't have that. Okay, scroll down. What are we?
Oddly enough, Jeff, most of our show today has been about soccer. It's kind of ironic, but
yeah, unfortunately, Jeff, it's all been about soccer.
We were sitting there going like, when do we bounce into the actual first topic? Because we always have our bullshit topics beforehand, but our actual first topic started like the 30-minute marker.
It did.
It was pretty good.
It's not bad.
Well, it was pretty streamlined today.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff, though, for the thoughts.
Because damn, I missed it.
The national team, blah blah blah. Let's see.
We already covered that.
We already did that. So we're getting near the end. America's elite youth soccer system has been problematic for a while. When the U.S. Soccer Federation disbanded its development academy in 2020, one of the main criticisms about the setup came from referees. They complained that the club games weren't competitive enough. These manufactured games inevitably feature coaches telling players not to make any mistakes and to focus solely on possession. Yeah, there was that era. It's still probably going on in places. They might as well have folded up the goals and taken them home because nobody was taking any shots and no one was taking any risks or taking on an opponent. Everyone treated soccer like a giant game of hot potato. Yeah,
can't argue that. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, because this is all on
that did
idiocy.
Tell me, the Federation DA academies folded in 2020. That had to have gone on for maybe 8 years.
Well,
That's the best program ever.
And this whole idea that now we're going to do this Barcelona tiki-taka, Pep Guardiola shit.
That's Berhalter ball.
Yeah, that's
Tuchel ball.
So many people bought into this shit, including Berhalter and many others. Like, okay, after a while, it just got so boring. It got boring to watch soccer. Like, that is not... even Pep said it in a recent interview. He's like, yeah, we can't go on play like that forever. You got to make adjustments. Sometimes you're going to have to kick the ball long. Not every pass should be on the ground. He even said that recently, saying, that's not always fun to watch. Yes, it's not. It's not always fun to watch. And I'm glad that people are starting to realize it. But it's not just about watching it. It's about what you get out of it when you only have mediocre players who are good at handling the ball and they're technical, but they have no idea about creativity and how to go forward and how to score a goal. So then you just end up whipping balls around all day long with possession, and you got Berhalter ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fucking bullshit.
We dominated the game because we maintained 80% of the game. Right. We lost 2-0, but whatever. Yeah.
Okay, and what did everyone say when we reached the World Cup last year? We don't have a forward. Of course we don't. We have 1,000 midfielders who are good at keeping the ball, but not dribbling or shooting. Yeah, I mean, there's some truth to that, especially if you're looking at MLS, although some of the best MLS strikers are American. You got Vasquez.
Hey, look at you.
You got Ferreira. Now, are these world beaters? Well, we've learned Ferreira is just really good at FC Dallas, and he's a really solid MLS player. I don't know if he's international player. Vasquez, we'll see. Well,
in that sense, though, we don't have any strikers. We don't have any strikers because under Berhalter, we never utilized a striker.
Correct.
Our strikers, and if you look at the heat map as far as where the passes would go, it would look like a cellist. And inside that cellist is the striker, who never got any fucking balls.
Yeah. Did you say chalice?
Did I say chalice?
Chalice.
I thought I said chalice. Did I not say chalice?
You did say chalice, right?
Okay, yeah.
CHALICE. I'm saying I'm saying that's awesome.
Okay, you made it sound like I was fucking up, like I was saying some kind of sex dungeon or something like that, Like, did you just say chalice?
It's just not a word you hear a lot of people use. Chalice.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, the English teacher in me was like, Brett, hell yeah, Brett. Yes, woo. Chalice. Major League Soccer can only do so much with what it has, but it should be taking a serious look at what happened in Italy. The Azzurri have failed to qualify for the last two World Cups because they have populated their league with more foreign talent than ever. And all they've done is make Belgium, Netherlands, and everybody else better. Meanwhile, who has MLS help? The league has been a wonderful opportunity for Costa Rica, Guatemala, El Salvador, and CONCACAF nations to get better. How do you think Panama reached the World Cup in 2018? Also, you can't spend millions of dollars on the likes of Henry, Rooney, Gerrard, Lampard, and claim to be developing players. You're preventing an opportunity for a young player. So this is where
I like this paragraph a lot, quite frankly.
I like it, but is he not wrong, though, in a way? Aren't we developing players now?
We're developing some.
Academies?
So I beg most people to go on when they're watching an MLS game to actually look at the lineup and say, how many of these players are actually American? Or how many of them are have gotten a green card over the last year or so? And his point is saying that they've gone out and they've gotten these talented players from around the federation and everything. So you got all the players from Costa Rica, all these players from Panama, Jamaica, and it's improving the league. But if you're not actually looking to improve,
that part you're right about. Yeah.
Then, you look at a squad, and you're like, well, there's like one, the goalkeeper or a center back is typically your American player. No, not everybody, of course. I'm not making a broad statement.
Definitely not.
But I understand his point here. Now, although Italy has some of this, well, it's not EU related, I guess. They have some of the strictest rules as far as foreign talent bringing in. But if you have an EA status or EU status, it's different. But I don't know. Well, but I think MLS is also taking a lot of jumps forward as far as developing talent at the academy level too, and those players are starting to come up through the woodwork.
I mean, and also you got to make the distinction. Henry was really good while he played in MLS. Rooney was pretty damn good. Gerrard was shit.
Yeah.
Lampard was my old shit because he's injured most of the time.
Yeah.
So that has nothing to do with developing players because that was years ago. Number one, that was years ago. All of this was years ago.
I was just saying, you're talking about players that they didn't play in the league at the same time either.
No, and we don't have a lot of those kind of players right now in MLS. Mm-hmm. We really don't. I'd say probably. There hasn't been one since Ibra left, right? Ibra's the last big star that we had. I can't think of anybody else that we've signed since that's been like a big motherfucking star. So I think we fixed that, and now we're bringing in a lot of South Americans too. Mm-hmm. A lot of Argentinians, a lot of Brazilians, a lot of Chileans, a lot of Colombians, some Venezuelans, so even Peruvians. So we're getting a good spice of that now too. But we are still developing youth players at MLS academies at a rate we have never before. So let's not lose sight of that. But is it every academy? And if you had a criticism, the criticism would be it's only a handful of academies doing it. You got Philly, New York, FC Dallas. You can't say that about every academy in MLS. That's the problem. And that needs to be fixed. And do some of the young guys sit? Yeah, you look at Philadelphia. They have some great youth prospects. They don't really play a whole lot. So
that's why we have MLS Next Pro, Derek.
Fuck MLS Next Pro. Right in the colon.
Here we got a couple players coming in here. People bringing up.
Yeah, but I mean, is that the kind of level player as a Rooney? Bale might be close, but Bale.
As far as name recognition, I guess in that sense. But Bale only was there for like half a season,
and then he's a bench player.
Yeah. So there's another one.
Shaq Moore.
I'm fine with Shaq Moore coming back because I mean, again, you're talking about another American player that's going to help push up the league.
He needs to come back because he's not doing much over there.
Wasn't doing shit over there, yeah.
Yeah. So I get a lot of the criticism there. I'm not going to get in. Yeah, Cellini's definitely one of those. But not a superstar. Like he's not a Rooney, he's not a Lampard, he's not an Henry, and he's not getting paid anywhere near what any of those guys did. So let's be clear about that. As far as the Italians go, I don't care what their problems are. Right?
Yeah, they keep failing. Who cares?
Yeah, I don't give a shit. But I don't think we're going to have a lot of the U.S. national team going forward coming out of like Italy does their domestic league. Our domestic league is going to provide 1 to 3 players going forward for our national team. And I think most kids who are interested in, and they are extremely good, are now going to be playing in USL. Then they're going to go to Europe. They're not going to sign any long-term contracts with MLS. They're going to bypass MLS after they use MLS as academies to get where they need to go. Then they're not going to sign a long contract with MLS. They're not going to be one of their, what are the letters for that? They're one of the, used to be Generation Adidas players that they used to sign. But anyhow, if you remove the dual nats from our team, we're no better than we were 20 years ago. That is so true.
I was curious. I pulled up the roster just to take a look how many dual nats we had 20 years ago. So I went 2002 World Cup.
But no, most of our players now are all dual nats. Look at it. Let's start from the top. Pulisic, dual nat, right? Pepe, dual nat.
Okay, well, I mean,
Zendeas, dual nat. This is just a starting lineup from last game.
I'm almost thinking when they talk about the dual nat aspect, they're talking about the players that have U.S. citizenship that aren't necessarily like they were born in the United States and then they moved to Europe year one and haven't looked back type of thing.
No, dual nat's just dual nat.
Because that's the thing. Yeah, of course. I mean, you're talking about. Of course, there's going to be a slew of dual nats that were always born and raised American.
We have more dual nats than we have ever had. Again, let's start with the starting lineup from last game. Pulisic, dual nat. DK, dual nat. Zendeas, dual nat. Okay, there's the top. Reyna, dual nat. Musa, dual nat. McKennie, not. Only first one that's not. All right. Back line. Anthony Robinson, dual nat. Dest on the right back, dual nat. Only other two that aren't dual nats, Ream, Turner, and the Robinson, Miles. That's it. That's way more than half the team that are dual nats. And there's nothing fucking wrong with that. I'm a dual nat. I'm all for it. I don't really care. So I don't even know what that discussion's about.
Well, I mean, I still don't know if that's necessarily what he was pointing out. The fact that I think he's talking again. I would never. I mean, yes, they are dual nats, but I would also say that they were less like they're almost always going to always pick United States in that sense. And
Zendejas was very much tempted.
Sure,
Mexico. I mean, we had articles about Reyna being tempted by Argentina or whatever. We had.
I mean, we have articles. There may have been articles in the past, but there were articles recently where he said he always was going to play for the United States.
That's what he said. It
Okay.
doesn't mean that other people weren't looking at him. Same thing with Pulisic. When he was early on in the Dortmund program, Croatia were like, hey, we're over here. Hey, we're interested. Anthony Robinson never got that interest from England. No biggie. I don't think DK got that interest from.
Jared, I'll come back. So yeah, here it is. It's raised in Europe. Even Jeff was saying that it recruited from Europe, not necessarily American players who were born and raised in America that happen to have dual citizenship. I don't think that's the question.
Okay, well, in that case, you're looking at Anthony Robinson, Dest,
Musa,
probably Balogun here down the road. Who else did we recruit from Europe recently? Brooks, who's not on the team anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, okay, that's a different type of dual nat, I guess. If you want to call them Euro-based dual nats or Euro-born dual nats, that's fine. I mean, Balogun was born in New York, so I guess that doesn't
born
count,
and then grabbed a flight the next day.
Yeah, it's hard to determine. I think we're getting in the weeds here. Garrett Sims says $5. Adams, Musa, McKennie are great players. Trying to make them play tiki-taka is dumb. They're not Xavi or Iniesta or Busquets who can make it work. I totally agree with you, Garrett. Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree with you. And guess what? If you're going to go tiki-taka versus tiki-taka, who is the team in CONCACAF who's better at tiki-taka than us? Mexico. You think Canada tries to play tiki-taka? No. They know what they got. They do.
We used to know.
We used to know, yeah. We didn't used to try to beat teams at their own game.
Mm-hmm.
We always had our own game plan that was different. So, all right. Do we want to finish this? Oh, the curvy yellow. Thank you for the $2, my friend. Dibs on the outro. Cue me when you're ready. Is this the turd, you think?
I have no idea who this is.
All right. Let's scroll down. And
real quick, Berlin says no one from the 2002 was a dual nat. What about Ernie Stewart?
You mean a dual nat in the way you're defining it, right,
yes.
Berlin? Yeah. No. There weren't any.
What about Ernie?
Yeah. Okay. Ernie counts. Yeah. Ernie does count. That's correct.
I'm just looking through the list here real quick. Again, this is 2002. David, I'm going to butcher the French name, but
Raji, yeah. David Raji was a Euro scoop. Hell, that dude barely.
I know there are other dual nats here too. I mean, I'm looking at Mascheroni. I'm looking at there's other people who have dual nats, but not quite the status that we're talking about.
But not the way he's defining.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Because Landon was Canadian.
But yeah, they're very, very few in comparison when you talk about those types of players. Yes.
Yeah. All right, let's scroll down and finish this fucking article. Now let's look at how coaches are made. This part I really like. Here's a good story. A couple years ago, I gave a speech on player development at an annual U.S. Soccer Coaches Convention. Afterward, I had a beer with a professional scout from Holland who heard me talk about American players. We're very much enjoying seeing the U.S. shoot itself in the foot every year. I don't know why a scout would say that. I asked what he meant. He smiled, paused, and said, out of curiosity, why are only 10 coaches in a country of 350 million people allowed to get their U.S. Soccer Pro level coaching license every year? Because we're fucking idiots. That's why. We're fucking morons. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad he pointed that out. This is so stupid. It is so fucking dumb. And I was watching a video of a guy who had his B license, right, or his C license, talk about how hard it is to get in the B license program because it's limited. And then the other next level is even more limited. And who do you think always gets the invite to go through that 10-person? It's always the big guys with the big names. Everybody else gets left in the fucking dust. And we're using this completely idiotic European system that was set up in Europe. So that's what they do in Europe. In a lot of the smaller countries, you're limited to so many licenses a year, right? Well, we're not Belgium. We're not Holland. We're not fucking Liechtenstein. We should have more than 10 a year. This is stupidity. And they're also ripping these coaches off. They're fucking asking every year. The fees for this shit goes up every fucking year. First, it's $1,000 to get your license. Now it's $2,000. Now it's $2,500. Fuck them. This is bullshit, and that needs to change right now. I swear to God, this is the biggest ripoff and hoax. Because guess what? If you get into the 10, you know how hard the course is? This hard. It's this hard. That's how hard
that could be pretty hard, though, man, if you think about it.
Well, if I'm stretching this far, then it's really hard. I'm just telling you, it's not hard to get through those courses. The problem is, it's hard to get in the courses. It's hard to get approved and picked to be in that. That's bullshit. That's like all these different associations out there where you have to take their stupid dilly-dally fucking test to get approved to be an architect or whatever. And you got to pay up to do it so they can continue to run their stupid fucking goofy-ass test program.
And I feel like at that point it's probably less to do with the money and more to do with the keeping it at the inside club, the boys club. You know,
yes.
Because if it was all about a money grab, why wouldn't you open the floodgates and say, well, now we have 15,000 U.S. affiliated coaches or whatever? You know, like all of a sudden, bam, money.
It is about the old boys club and keeping it small, making sure the people that get those 10 licenses are people you know, people you like, and the people that you want to advance through the coaching system. This is what we're dealing with. And I'm so glad Eric brought this up because you don't hear it enough. It is a joke. It is a joke. It's a complete joke. All right. This has been going on for years and we never learn because we're always looking to Europe for ideas. And we keep getting the same results. Every American youth player of a certain age remembers the first time they heard the English accent. Those accents over the years have changed from German to French to Dutch to Portuguese. We have trusting experts who aren't good enough to succeed in their own countries. Though if I were a mediocre foreign coach who couldn't get a job back home, I'd come to America. Why? Because there's no pressure here. We're married to mediocrity. Well, that's a hard hit again. The best part of this whole article was at the end about the coaching licenses because that's statistically fucking true, is what he said.
Yeah, and I was actually before we even talked about that last part, where especially like if I couldn't get a job at home, I'd go to America because I was going to make the comment. I was like, well, it'd be funny that it'd be absolutely a cash grab if a club like Barcelona sent over and started an organization where they coach just coaches in the United States. And they charged an arm and a leg. And there'd be a lot of people going there because it's Barcelona. You know, but I mean, it's like that would be the cash grab. That's what you got to do.
Well, it's an elitist system set up by a bunch of fucking ingrates who are practically or might as well be related to one another and having illicit, illegal sex with one another on a regular basis because that's where we are. 10, we're going to get 10 licenses out at the highest level every year. 10 in a country of 350 million people. It's the most ridiculous, absurd thing. So we give out as many as Belgium does. Okay, great. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
It's so fucking ridiculous. Rando Calrissian. I love that name. 199. Thanks, brother. U.S. soccer is a white boy sport on purpose. Well, I mean, we're seeing a lot of diversity now, which is really great. Because we didn't have that back in the 1990s. We had some, but not a lot. And as things have gone on, things have gotten better. But in the coaching sphere, as far as certified licenses at the highest level go, I don't know if we're seeing that diversity. I would have to look at the numbers. And I would guess it's mostly, since it's an old boys network, it's probably pretty white. That would just be my guess. All
as
right,
far as the higher ups, yes.
Yeah. I mean, we just saw our boy Gooch, who said, yeah, I'll take that job, sporting director. And then poof, no one talked about it anymore.
Don't call him a poof.
I didn't call him a poof. I said poof. It went away. It went away. Where did it go? I don't know. But
the rest of the board was like, Gooch. No. It's not gonna
they're like, yeah, they called them. They're like, hey, man, you're on the board with us. Why don't you just...
Isn't that good enough?
shut up publicly about this, because you're probably not going to get the job.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But Eric, I'll have to say you had some really good points there. You had some points where we're not quite clear what you meant. But generally, some of the great points were things that need to be said.
Well, and even the points where we didn't really even disagree. We said, no, he's right, but only in certain locations around the United States.
Right.
That would benefit those portions. But the rest of us over here in the rural portions wouldn't benefit them. That's all I was saying.
I will guarantee you that article was 10 pages longer than that. I guarantee you they edited the fuck out of that article. I'd love to have Eric on and say, yeah, they did. They cut out this paragraph, backing up this statement. I bet you that shit got edited to pieces. And I know, having written soccer articles before, that sometimes you could turn in a good piece that you think is amazing. And then when it's posted up, you're like, what the fuck happened to my piece? This is complete. This is not what I wrote. This is just an overview of what I wrote. You don't give none of the supporting facts are with my article. What happened? I can't remember who that was. It was kind of the end of my writing career. It was what I don't know. I'll look it up. I have to look it up to find out what venue that was. And then I wrote him. I was all pissed off. And I'm like, motherfucker, I've been writing soccer articles for 20 years. What the fuck are you doing? Totally butchering my article.
Do you know who I am?
I did. I pulled you. Don't you know who I am? They were like, no, we don't. And we don't care. So go away. All right. Let's end the show. Brett has.
Know your place, turd.
You got more? You got more stuff, Brett?
I got the twits. Not many. Look at this. There's not many.
Okay, let's do them. Chris Gary, who's gone now. There's no way and I mean, he's gone literally. He's not drunk.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. There's no way USSF would stick with Hudson. They've made it pretty clear that they're going to hire someone else. I don't know what they've made that's been pretty clear, Chris. They seem like they're lost, frankly. So, I mean, if you think they're being clear, cool. I'm glad that you think they are. I just feel like they're kind of lost right now.
Yeah, and I guess if USSF was not aiming to get rid of Hudson and they liked him, then why even keep him at the interim status? Why not just bring him in? Who cares about the sporting director? Why does that even play different?
Because they've already laid out how the process is going to work. Yeah. And if they go back on that now, that'll make them look foolish. So there you go.
Well, I wonder who Gooch would hire.
That's a good question.
I don't know.
I'd like to hear him talk about it.
Yeah.
Deacon Clapcheek says, I wouldn't mind giving Hudson a run at it. He's already been an improvement over Greg. That didn't take much. Give him a contract through Copa and let him cook. I think they will.
I don't know through Copa. That's going to give him a year and a half now. I'm thinking at least through Gold Cup. We're going to find out a sporting director at that point, I imagine.
You might be right. This is moving pretty slow, though. We can always change if we need to. Did y'all see Lawless back on his bullshit today? Typical MLS homer. I didn't. I'll check it out.
Monday.
I mean, we've already battered him twice in the last 4 weeks. So
Derek's already gotten one death threat for doing it, too.
Yes, so. I was sent a death threat for it.
Okay.
Look at
that was the shortest tweets ever. I mean, that's mainly because I didn't get that thing up until like 6 o'clock, but
yeah, that's true. But hey, thanks for all of you for coming out, supporting. Make sure you like, subscribe, share it with grandma, and subscribe, share it with grandma or great aunt or whomever. And I'm not going to really go with anything related to not having sex with your stepsister, because I think I've been
be upset because he missed out on his incest card on bingo there.
But that's not incest.
It's not,
Your
you're right.
stepsister is not related to you. So I guess if both of you can come to the agreement that, yes, our dads and moms are different, so we're not really brothers and sisters, I guess if you're both fine with that, I don't have a real problem with it, frankly. Because, listen, I mean, it's better than fucking your cousin, right?
Hallelujah. He's back.
He's back to life. They did the back. He's back. All right. We will be back on Monday with more. We've got a lot to cover. We've got a bunch of games coming up. I'll also talk to you. We will go through a list that I did a lot of research on recent Americans that have gone to Germany and have come back with their tail between their legs, or that things just didn't work out. And that happens. But don't you ever put your tail between your legs. You stay proud and strong. Thank you for supporting us, and we'll be back, and we'll see you the next time on the Straight Red Card.
But she's a trap. She's an unsung novel. Turn a lap and get your whole world dazzled on the line, or a phone call with or without wine.
You're gonna do her. Yeah.
Oh no!